Hey, everybody, it's Totally Tony Blake, and guess what time it is? It's time to get on up, y'all. So this is my fourth message in my Up Ward, and today we're going to talk about upright character. And I wore my spring colors to bring flowers to your world today, and a great message on how to get on up. So this message is about being upright, how to intentionally harness the power of upright to demonstrate a positive character in your life. It's about using those 86 billion neurons in your brain to create positive habits, and that is going to equal upright character. Now, last week on Perspective, we talked about the fact that no one can make you, and the fact that, no one can make you feel in fear without your consent. I love this quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. But I want you to realize when it comes to character, no one can make your character. These are choices that you decide on. And I have to say, it's pretty powerful to know that you truly can make a choice of the character that you want to become, create that habit, and make that an instinctive thing inside yourself. Right now, this time that we have all been running through and riding through, immune compromise is the least of our problems. I feel like today people are feeling character compromised, like COVID compromises, like not giving everybody the best of ourselves. It's like somehow this COVID excuse card gets laid down instead of our very best self. So today, I am calling out for you to no longer be downright. I want you to be upright with your character and to make a decision today that no longer are you going to not be the very, very best human being that you can be. Doug shared this great story with me about a race that was going on in Spain, and a Kenyan athlete was about to cross the finish line. But when he got there, the signs were all in Spanish, and he was a little disoriented, and he slowed down, and a local Spaniard came up behind him, and the people even encouraged him to pass him up and go, and he did not. Instead, he stayed behind him, pointing and directing him to the finish line so that he would be the true winner. Afterwards, he was interviewed, and I love one of the things he said. He said, what would the merit be in that victory? And what would the honor be in that medal? And he said, what would my mother think? I think it's so important that we create a culture in our life that constantly teaches us to choose those positive, upright decisions. What a great moment for him to show his character. Ooh, I love this. He is so pretty, isn't he? I love that, Will Smith. And I love this quote. He says, I've always considered myself to be just an average talent, but what I have is a ridiculous, insane obsessiveness for practice and preparation. I think it's so important that when you think about your character, that you understand it's because of you, that it's you might have the skill, but you need to develop the ability. And that's about getting the habits of it. Now, if you haven't read this book yet, I've got a link to it in your ebook. It's the book Good to Great. And it's a story after story after story of companies that elevated themselves. And with it, I partnered a quote from Michael Jordan, who says, you can practice shooting 8 hours a day, but if the technique is wrong, then all you've become is somebody who's good at shooting the wrong way. Get the fundamentals down and level everything. The level of everything you do will rise. This is about right now making a decision, making a choice to be upright, y'all, and to say, we're going to put our very best character forward. And we may be good, but it is time for greatness. Life is not about finding yourself. You don't need a compass to find yourself. You know right where you are. In fact, GPS and several apps know right where you are. This is about creating yourself. I love this quote from Max Debris. He says, in the end, it's important to remember that we cannot become what we need to be by remaining who we are. It's about making that choice today to create a new you, to step into your 2022 you, baby. So I love I ams. I think it's really important that you're intentional about the character you want to develop. That means you really have to sit down and become the creator of a list of characteristics that you want to do and write out those 10 I ams that you want. Even though it's been difficult times, I believe that's in our struggle that we get our wings. I love the butterfly. And if you think about a butterfly in the chrysalis trying to get out, and you were like, oh, that looks hard. And you made it easier by maybe cutting a few fibers so that butterfly could get out easier. Do you know what you just did? Well, the first thing you did is grounded the butterfly. It will never fly. It will die a death it did not deserve. And the reason is this: the wings are attached, but they're not alive. It's in the pressing against that chrysalis that the fluid from the butterfly transfers to the wings and gives them life. And there's a film on the undercoating of the chrysalis that presses into the wings that makes them able to fly. Listen to this, you guys. It's in our struggle that we get our wings. I love to take the word responsible and think of it as respond with ability. That in this time that we choose to respond with ability, to take that best human being that we are capable of being and making positive choices to live our life right now with wings. So I created a wings program that I love with my hashtag 1M moments to create a million moments of positive change in the world. And these are the 3 assignments that go along with the butterfly effect. Number 1, choose a new positive direction. Number 2, reinforce a positive change of habit with that new direction and move just 1 degree in the right direction. I love this movie. It's a Wonderful Life, where he gets a chance to actually see how he's made a difference in the world that he lived in. Wouldn't it be incredible for us to know that those character moments where we demonstrate ourselves, what they've meant to others, and by making that decision today, what kind of future we're writing for ourselves and those around us. I want to bring you back to the book from Charles Duhigg, The Power of Habit. I love this book. I've recommended it for a number of years. In your ebook, I'm going to give you a link to go to charlesduhigg.com. Take a look at who he is and what he's doing. It's an amazing book. It has this fantastic research. I love brain science about how the brain actually creates habit. And then he takes all this science and he boils it in to the habit loop, these 3 simple steps. And if you're a Googler and you like to look things up, just go look up the habit loop. You'll find tons of people who have written about this process. It's pretty simple. It's about identifying a cue that triggers a habit, establishing that new routine, and then putting a little reinforcement in the positive to help you do that. I don't know how you feel about morning, but I will tell you that morning was the very, very first place where I rewrote my character and I changed my stars. And I love this little thing. I love those little despicable guys. I wake up every day planning to be productive. And then a little voice in my head says, ha, 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 that's a good one. And we laugh and we laugh and we take a nap. So, I mean, here's the deal. Like, how do you feel about those areas where you're challenged? Whether it's being organized, some people are pile makers instead of file makers. But there is nothing that you can't do if you get the right habits. I am a 2-time triathlete because I put the right habits in place. Habits are powerful. And I found this study that showed that 45% of everything we do every day is habit, that it controls so much of our day. I want you to be intentional and not subconscious in the way that you choose to live your life. And the best way to do this is to find excuses. Like, where have you given up? Where have you forfeited success and accepted that excuse into your life? And look for the cue, the routine, and the reward. So I'll show you one of mine. Morning was just such a difficult thing for me. I started leasing apartments when I was 19 years old. So I literally was a teenager when I got my first job as a leasing agent at an apartment community. And I don't know if you know how teenagers like to sleep, but I was one of them. And so I was late every day. But every time I'd wake up, I hated morning and I go, oh, it's morning, and I go back to sleep. And I lived on the property and then nobody cared. So I would wander in with no makeup on. And I laugh sometimes and talk to my sessions and say, is there anybody but me that used to show up to work with sheet marks on their face? Anybody? Oh my gosh, you guys, had this habit. Nobody cared until I got a new manager, and the new manager cared. And this person said, you will be on time. And I remember thinking, oh no. And she called me in her office and she said, tomorrow I expect you to be on time. And how many of you know, if it's a habit, it's hard to break. And I tried, and I was pretty close, but I didn't make it. And the next day she called me to her office and she was going to write me up. And I'd never been written up because I was the top leasing agent in the company. I'd never been in trouble. And so I said to her, she was going to go in my employee file. And I said, well, like, how many of those do I get? And she said 3. And I started crying. She said, why are you crying? I said, I need a new job in 3 days. Well, she felt sorry for me. And so she decided to talk to me about what my patterns were that were causing me to not get up on time. So she asked me if I was rested. And I said, well, at that time I had been Arthur Murray dance instructor. And then, it was the disco time. And so the dancing went on till like 2 a.m. And then there was the Waffle House for breakfast. And she said, you're going out and dancing like during the week. And I was like, yeah, well, people count on me. And she's like, no, you're not anymore, Cinderella. You're getting in at midnight. And then she talked to me about my alarms, and she talked about being prepared. And then she talked about this amazing thing that I didn't even realize. And she said, on time is late. I'm like, on time. She wanted me to be early. So she helped me write this affirmation. I get up every morning at 7 a.m. And then I added the second part to it. And all I need to get going is the breath of fresh air, because all I needed was a Virginia Slim menthol. I figured if she could get me to be early, I could quit smoking too. Y'all, this is my first affirmation ever in my whole life. And I wrote it out and put it on my mirror. And it wasn't long before I started waking up. And I can intentionally even wake up on time at a different time zone. Now, when I'm home and I can sleep, I do love to sleep like a teenager, but I am capable of getting up and getting going and getting my life going. And I've completely rewritten the way that I operate. Cape able. I know it's a misspelling, but I think it's so fun. We need to realize we can take our potential and turn it into ability. We can take positive habits and turn it into upright character. Quick story. Years ago, I went into the original Neiman's in Dallas. I used to love to go in there and buy little things. And I don't know why, if you're not paying for perfume, they call it toilet water, but I bought a little eau de toilette and I went home. And when I got home, there was a $280 bottle of parfum in my bag with no receipt. And I panicked. I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to get it back into the store and not be like a convicted felon? I was just panicking about it. So I called a bunch of my friends and I was like, what would you do? How would you get it back in? And they were like, you're taking it back in? And I said, of course I am. It's not mine. And they were like, oh, needless markup. You need to just keep that. And I was like, they said, have you smelled it yet? And I was like, no, it smells like a thief is what it smells like. And I could not believe how many of my friends would not have taken it back. I needed some new friends, didn't I? Well, anyway, I found a number and the girl's name on the receipt. And so I called and I got her on the phone and I said, look, you have messed me up. I'm sitting here holding a $280 bottle of perfume with no receipt, and I need to get back in the store, and I need you to help me to make sure I don't get in trouble. And she says to me, you're bringing it back? And I said, yes, I'm bringing it back. It's not mine. And she said, I just can't believe this. She said, they were going to take it out of my paycheck. I was like, no, they're not. I'm going to bring it back. And so we decided we were going to meet. I called it no man's land, the door from the outside. And then there's that space. And then there's the door that goes into the store. I said, I'll wait for you there. And she met me and I gave her the perfume and she looked at me and she hugged me. And you know how sometimes people will just hold you a little bit longer, and she held me and she said, I'm so glad that of all the people in the world that I put that in your bag. And when I walked away, I thought, I was taught by my dad, we don't steal. We don't take things that are not ours. And how are you raised? And what is acceptable in your world? And what character are you looking? And who are you hanging out with? Let me go back. Do you know that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with? This is why I don't watch those shows that have those nasty people on it where they're mean to each other. I don't like to spend time with mean people. Choose 5 really great human beings that you want to hang out with, because being around them becomes an example into your life, and be a great example for someone else. You know, my kindness challenge is still available on YouTube. And I've had so many properties have such a great time sharing the kindness challenge with their residents. Here is an example of one of my favorite from the people at Plum Creek, where they did a Kyle kind of people from Kyle, Texas. My YouTube channel is available to you. I have a link to it. I have my Totally Tony trend report that just got loaded. I did a keynote. If you haven't seen me live on stage for a while, oh, this was such a funny night. Please take a minute, go take a peek. The whole Up series is available for you and your teams, and also the kindness challenge. I'm going to keep putting things on this YouTube channel to make it available for you so that I can maybe be one of those great human beings in your life. I want to finish by talking to you about apologizing. I don't mess up very often, but when I do, I think it is really important to be sincerely accountable for your mistakes, not to argue or give excuses or to try and just move it aside, but to honestly apologize. And I have had to apologize a couple of different times in the recent months. And I think it's so important. So I looked up when I realized I need to apologize. I looked up how to apologize. I found this on Mind Tools, and I'm going to send you a link to it. But I wanted you to look at why you should apologize, that it is going to hurt your relationship with your colleagues. Today, trust is so important. You know, by owning up to your mistake and taking responsibility, it restores dignity, and it avoids other people taking blame for what maybe was yours. Apologize can help you act better in the future, maintain your self-respect, restore your integrity in the eyes of others. It's such a good thing. Is there a time in the recent history where maybe you messed up, that it would be appropriate to send an apology and say, hey, I'm sorry, admit your responsibility, make amends, and promise it won't happen again? Let's be grateful and apologetic. 2 wrongs don't make a right, and make sure that the character we're demonstrating in this world is upright. Thank you so much for being a part of this series. I appreciate you joining me so much in Totally Tony's Up Ward for the upright message. Have a great week.